What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about creating an epic life on your terms. And today we're talking about how to change your money mindset specifically as an intuitive, because I believe and I've made the experience that it's very particular and a little different to when you are not an intuitive. Because as you can imagine, we all take on so much, specifically during our childhood. So there's a lot of stuff that is keeping us from actually achieving great financial goals. But at the same time, because we are intuitives, we have a much easier time accessing those things and removing them, decluttering them, and just overcoming limiting beliefs that are keeping us at the current income level. And for me, I've made a couple of big shifts in my life. One of them was, for example, when I reached my six-figure income in a corporate job. Another one was when I recognized, oh, I can make money doing what I love. Because that's also something I had to learn. It's something I had to feel good about in order to do it and then take action in it. And when it comes to the 5 pillars to the epic life, which is the entire program of my manifestation, then wealth management was really one of the last ones I wanted to take in. But now I recognized how easy it can be once you do. And so that's why I want to share with you the things that made the huge difference for me so you can start applying them today. If you want to know a little bit more about the 5 pillars to an epic life, check out the rerun of the webinar. And if you want to work with me privately on these topics, also find the link in the description. So one of the reasons why intuitives don't really want to talk about money or don't want to put that into their reality in the first place is because it seems like such a real world thing. And we as intuitives, we rather live in our own world. So we came up with this story that we tell ourselves that money isn't important, or if it's important, it's because we don't have it. But it's never a way of, oh, I want to make money. Making money is a good thing. Or a lot of us who are actually empaths and want to help people, it's more like, I don't want to make money, I just want to help people. And this kind of notion is something we take with us, that we carry with us, so we don't even want to look at it. And in a lot of ways, I resisted looking at this area all the time. And it's on such a subconscious level, I couldn't even tell you why I did that. But I was focusing on so many things. Sometimes I was obsessed with people, relationships, I was obsessed with getting anything else done, but not focusing on money. Making something that actually generates money for me on my own terms, that was just something I didn't want to think about. I kind of felt that would make me a bad person, and it's not really something that will make my life exciting or good, or that will make me a person I wanted to be. Now I know better. I know the more income I generate, the more income I can generate while doing something I love, the more I can actually help people, the more I can contribute, and you take on more responsibility for your life and with that for others, and you can create amazing things once you dare to take on this responsibility. So how do we get to the point where making money is really something we want to focus on? The main thing is, and I really learned that through Denise Thomas, so a lot of things I talk about in today's video is from her program, because that really helped me. See, I always focus on the macro picture, but when it comes to real details, I really think it's important to go to experts who really know what they're doing. And I actually work with her program and a lot of others every single day, and that made a huge difference. But so the main thing that will really help you is to start tracking the money that's already coming in. So you set up a money tracking sheet and you write down all the money that's already coming in, because as you know, and I also talk about this all the time, you can only get more of what you already have. That's why it's so important when you want to be more productive to actually focus on what you're already achieving. You know, I always talk about have a success story at the end of the day. Be proud of yourself at the end of the day. And if that means that you have to start really small, then you have to do that. The same way applies to money or tracking money. If you think, oh, I should be making $10,000 each month, but right now you're bringing in 500 or 1,000, then it's not going to really help you to go somewhere, because you're denying yourself the current truth. That does not mean that you shouldn't be able to create a new reality for yourself, because all of those levels, all of those plateaus are just a reflection of where our money mindset is right now. It's not a literal translation to how much our self-worth is. It's just about really overcoming the limiting beliefs that are keeping us at this current level. And a lot of times it's just what we've been used to, the people we hang around with, and just the kind of things that make us feel at home. But we're gonna get to that a little later. But for now, as I said, you gotta really recognize what you already bring in. So if you tell yourself, oh, I'm not bringing in $10,000, I'm not bringing in $10,000, I can't make it, I'm not good enough at this, things won't look up for you. But if you start saying, oh, I was able to bring in $1,000 this month, and next time it's $1,050, that's an amazing progress. That's something to focus on, because if you're not focusing on what you're already bringing in, you can't make more of it. Same thing goes to productivity. If you're not able to write 2 pages every day, then don't put that as your goal. Like, really put something on that you're actually able to do, and then just push yourself a little bit. So start where you're at. Be okay with where you're at. Don't shame yourself for what you're able to bring in right now, because trust me, there are people who are not able to bring in what you're bringing in. So just be grateful for that. And then my brother says all the time, what? So I'm supposed to be grateful with this, as in like it's never gonna get better? I should be satisfied with what is? No. Not in a way of, oh, I have to be okay with living like this forever. But if you can't look at it from perspective of how great this already is, you won't be able to make the next step. So that's really something you need to practice. And as intuitives, there are 2 main areas we need to focus on. And the one thing is more of the intuitive part, and the other one is more of the action part. See, both of those actually apply to everybody, but for us intuitives, it's very particular. So when it comes to the intuitive part, let's really narrow this down. So as you can imagine, as intuitives, we take on a lot of beliefs we encounter specifically in our childhood. So imagine you've been in a situation where you saw people fighting over money, or you didn't have a lot, or you had a person in your life that had a lot of money, but that person wasn't really nice. So you have this idea in your mind, oh, people who make money are really people that I don't want to be like. And for example, one of the stories I was telling myself is you have to work really, really hard for your money. You have to like really step into your masculine side in a way I never wanted to. I always wanted to be in the flow. I always wanted to have fun. And I never really wanted to be pushed to do something I don't want to do. And I've been carrying this with me for my entire life, because as a child, it was mirrored back to me that if you want to make money, if you want to make a lot of money, you have to give up all your emotions. You have to be cold. You have to just do things you don't want to do. And you have to sit in like this gray cubicle and not care about doing anything fun. Those are really things I had to recognize, so I was able to actually transform those limiting beliefs and create a new reality for myself. This is really something you shouldn't underestimate, because a lot of people say, yeah, who cares about that? I just want to make money. Why should I care about decluttering my thoughts, really going in and accessing what's been going on as a child? Yeah, this may have happened, but that's not the reason why I'm not making more money. I just can't make the money because XYZ, because I wasn't born into a wealthy family, because I don't have the infrastructure, because the universe doesn't like me. Whatever you want to tell yourself, it's not true. At every level, there's something that you believe that is keeping you there. And in a lot of ways, people who are struggling to make a jump from, let's say, $500,000 a year to $1 million a year, they have to focus on and declutter similar things that somebody has to declutter who's making 500 and wants to make 1,000. It all comes down to this. It all comes down to those things that keep this roof over our head of our beliefs, because it really isn't that way that everybody who makes more money is working harder. It's not that it's something that you have to hustle all the time for. I mean, we know a lot of people who work so much and they don't make that much money, or they don't do it while doing something they love. So it really is necessary that you take in this truth. And one of the great ways, and this is also something I learned from Denise Duffield Thomas, is forgiveness. I mean, I've been talking about this in a lot of my videos, and I really gonna repeat it because this actually changed so much. Every time I was able to create a new income level for myself, it gets easier. You know, you can imagine it, but it becomes easier not because now there's not that much left to declutter, but because I know what to do. I know what works and I keep doing it. And one of the things is really forgiving the people in your life. And if you can't do that, then remember it is possible. If Oprah and Tony Robbins were able to forgive their abusers as children, you can too. Because this is never about having a relationship with that person after you forgive them. You can just say, okay, I forgive them on a soul level. That doesn't mean I have to really hang out with them or be with them, but those things really keep you stuck. You won't imagine how much of an impact it can be. One of the things that I was able to clear and then like really catapult me to the next level was when I forgave all the men that rejected me when I was trying to voice myself, when I was trying to be bigger and really go for what I wanted. Especially as a child, I kind of like always had situations where I had boys, men, whatever it is, there's like male energy that put me down for it because it kind of like tarnished their ego. And at that time, I wasn't able to actually recognize what of this whole thing was truth, what was, just their problem, and that it wasn't about me. As children, especially as intuitive children, we learn to create harmony through actually taking in more of other people's energy. And so we recognize if we want to make it stop, we thought the best way is just to keep ourselves small. So the moment I was actually able to forgive that person and then move on and look at it from a perspective of, oh, I can do this. This is in the past. I forgive them. I forgive myself for, taking this on. I love them just because they're humans on this earth and they just have their own issues and it's okay. And I thank the universe, or I thank them, or I thank my past for bringing me this situation, because if I didn't have that situation, if I wasn't able to experience this, then I wouldn't be able to talk to you about it. I wouldn't be able to actually create so much. I wouldn't be in a position where I could actually catapult myself to the next level. We know very often if you have like more of a bad childhood, sometimes it's easier to actually either stay there completely or catapult yourself all the way to the top than it is for a lot of people who really grow up in this middle area, which can be amazing as well, as long as you feel good about it. But there, you don't have like those negative things that hurt you so much, so you're forced to change something. Nowadays, you can see I live pretty comfortably, but that does not mean that I stop working on my money blocks. It doesn't mean that I stop forgiving. So if you really want to know more about this, check out my video on how to forgive. There I really go more into detail on Ho'oponopono, and it makes a huge difference. And I really do this like almost on everyday level, and it makes differences to my income level. So the first time I started making money with something I love, which was my ebook at that time, which was 5 years ago, that was one area where I first expressed a lot of anger towards a person, then I forgave them, I changed my reality, and then I was like, okay, now everything's kind of empty. My life doesn't really make me that much drama, so I need to create more passion in my life. Let's go for the next thing. And if you go for something that actually creates money for yourself, you'll be able to get to the next level. But remember, you gotta make making money a priority in your life, because it will make your life so much easier. You'll be that much better of a friend, you'll be that much better of a parent, you'll be that much better of a sibling, coworker, whatever it is, if you don't worry about money. That is the best way to go. And once you accept that it doesn't have to be money or relationships or money or helping people, you'll be great. Especially nowadays, there's a new economy, there's a new world, there's so many ways to make a lot of money, even through healing work. I know that in these areas specifically, it's sometimes even harder to overcome limiting beliefs because there are a lot of shamers there. They tell you, oh, if you would do this in order to help people, you wouldn't charge money. But that's not the case. See, like Denise Duffel Thomas says, I serve, I deserve. And if you really start approaching life this way, you really get to a better level of this. And it doesn't mean that you have to make money with healing or with doing what you want to do. But if you're a person who is a responsible adult who wants to do good for the world, then you will learn that you deserve to make more money. It is really, before we get to the action steps, one of the most important aspects to think about, that you deserve to feel good about yourself and create that money. So for me, it really took me a couple of months of actively wanting to care about money, tracking money, in order to have this concept even as one of the things I want to improve myself in. Because other things were no problem. I had no problem in tracking and being consistent with uploading videos. I didn't have a problem with helping people. I didn't have a problem with taking care of the tasks I had at my last job, but I had a problem with caring about making money. And it even was that way that when I was making a lot of money through my corporate job, because there was so much I didn't like about it, that I was just wasting it. Like looking back at it, I was spending so much money on things that really didn't matter. I just like spend it on things that would just go away, that I would just like eat or, have some kind of experience, but it wasn't something substantial. And I did that because I wasn't comfortable with having money. And that's why we need to practice it. So really honing in on those aspects, forgiveness, making sure that you declutter old stories, that you create new stories in your life is a huge component of it. And when it comes to decluttering, when it comes to forgiveness, when it comes to really changing those subconscious beliefs, we as intuitives have a very big advantage, and which is that we access our subconscious much easier. You can look up like videos on YouTube, Abraham Hicks. You can look at just videos that help you subliminally to do this. As I said, you can declutter all kind of situations that remind you of a time when you had less income. So what I do very often is I change my environment. Now that I'm at this apartment, for example, it's much easier for me to get to the next level because I have a new environment that doesn't remind me of a time where it was so hard. But my old apartment, there were so many memories there that I also experienced when I didn't have a lot of money, when I was doing a lot of things I didn't want to do because I thought that's the only way to make money. It's really that those things remind you of where you belong and what feels familiar. So once you're able to get into a new environment, so you actually go on vacation or you get a new job or you get a new apartment, it will really help you to manifest even more once you start caring about money in this aspect. So remember, money has to be on your mind. It has to be a point of I want to create more money because this is actually abundance. I can do more with it. I can help more, and there's nothing shameful about it. That's the one aspect. Then you have to do the decluttering work, so you create a void. I very often talk about creating voids. For example, in the last video where I talked about, once you really want to stop being an easy target, it's actually to remove all of those people that you allowed in your space, and then you create a void. And this void will be filled up by itself based on what you focus on. So focusing on money, it will create more money for you. So as I said, you change your environment. Another thing is you really remove clothes you haven't been wearing for a while that you've had since like back in the day. So one of my favorite jackets that was already torn, and like I really loved that jacket, but I've had this jacket for like 5 or 6 years, and I also had it when I was going through the most difficult times in my life. And so it was really necessary for me to let that go. So I was able to then have a void and then fill it up with new things. Now I have new ideas. I tell myself, what will it take to actually get to the next income level? And that is the thing we're going to talk about when it comes to the action part, because we as intuitives, you can imagine action is a little bit more difficult for us. We're more on the side of having the ideas, knowing where to go, but actually really stepping into it and doing the work that is necessary is one of our difficulties. For people who are the other way around, they might be working all the time. They might be doing and being active, but not having the vision to actually change something about their life. So with them, they have the difficulty that they can be very busy, but not productive. And for us, it's more like, yes, we already optimize everything. We really make it efficient, and we might even minimize all of those things we're doing in order to get where we want to go. But we don't really take the steps because of the stories we keep telling ourselves. Oftentimes it's just like, once I do this, like what kind of life would that be? That would be so hard. I don't want to do this. Or it would be telling ourselves stories like, okay, I don't want to go for that job because that's not what I want to do, although that job will make me more money. Very similar situation I was having when I made the jump from, let's say, a middle class consulting firm to going to that 6-figure job. When I was working for one of the top tier consulting firms in the banking area, I really didn't want to go there because I thought, okay, that means I have to give up everything I believe in. That means I have to actually work so much, and that means I have to do things I don't want to do, and the money won't justify it. But what was the alternative at this point? Was just staying at this particular job that didn't fulfill me. So I actually was willing to make that jump because first off, you don't really know how it's going to be until you do it. And I actually recognized how much more that gives me. And once I got acclimatized to that kind of income, then I was able to say, okay, I'm gonna keep this income, but now I'm gonna make the switch to making that kind of income while doing something I love even more. But even from an aspect of how much I like the work, Even the new job was more exciting to me than the old job, because there I had already reached all limits. I had already reached everything I could reach. So one of the things I did on the intuitive side also was to start creating my perfect day in my mind. I had a vision board that I actually still have, and I change it every time I reach my goals. Like, so many of my goals I was able to achieve, and money is just one aspect of it, but you gotta really focus on it. I was able to achieve so much for my manifestation and forgiveness work, but until I started focusing on money particularly, I really wasn't making so much of money additionally as I was creating a better environment for myself. But still, having more money and really knowing that you can spend that money on whatever it is, and that it's not just, oh, I manifest this great apartment or I manifest this great vacation. Like, remember, I've been to Hilton hotels like all over the world. I had a 5-star diamond status, and I was staying at this 5-star villa in Myanmar, and all of this happened while I didn't have to pay for it. Those are things I was able to create all the time, but money was really an issue. So I actually had to narrow this down and think about money, make it more of a priority. But one of the things I did was I started doing daily meditations on my ultimate day. That way, I was actually visualizing how much money I would be making, what would be the next step, and I would still take into consideration what I was making now. So I had to find a way where it's not too much. So you have, let's say, as I said, if you have like those small things you're bringing in right now, you cannot say, oh, I imagine making 1 million next year, because the jump is too big. Mentally, you can't make that shift into reality that easily. It is possible, of course, but the chances of you being able to do that big of a shift are rather small, and you'll have a much bigger chance of achieving more if you're willing to admit where you're at and say, okay, let me imagine what I would be doing if I have a little bit more. And what are the things I would be doing once I would have that? So let's say you say, oh, okay, my next goal is to make $1,000 more a month. What would I be doing then? And then to start doing those things today. Start doing things today that actually represent where you want to go. So let's say you want to get somebody that cleans your house, and you want that person to be there once a week. Well, start now with once a month, or start now with every other week, or start like going to whatever it is that you want to do once you have more money, but on a smaller scale. You have to acclimatize to it in order to really be able to make that shift and create this new reality for yourself. But now let's get to the action part, because this one is just as important. You cannot, I can guarantee you this, you cannot just sit there and say, oh, I'm just gonna manifest, I'm gonna create those things in my mind, and then things are just gonna happen. It does not work. That's not how the law of attraction works. That's not how The Secret works. None of it. None of it works until you make real world actions. And this was one of the aspects that was really hard for me to grasp once I started, for example, this channel, which was like 5 or 6 years ago, because up until this point, I always thought, oh, I'm just gonna find a way to be in other people's world, give them what they want, and then they will pull me, they will do the action. But then I recognized, if I want to create something for me that cannot be taken away, and most importantly, it's on my terms, because no matter what, you'll always have to make compromises if you're just being the sidekick to somebody else's life. And you know, a lot of us have this, that we're not the leading role in our life, at least not that we used to, but that we work on it. And I work on this daily. As I said, my money mindset, me being the center of my life, having and creating a life that is more and more in tune with what I want, that is something I do on a daily. And it really is a muscle, so you just gotta practice it. And at the same time, it does get easier over time. I remember the first time I actually actively took action in this aspect and said, I'm gonna become a person who creates the reality she wants. It seemed so hard, and I'm so proud of her for what she was able to do, so my younger self, because it's really hard to overcome those limiting beliefs or those things that have been ingrained in you. And in the beginning, it is very hard. It's just how it is, because we're not used to it. But the more you create that, the more you start doing the action steps, the more you recognize how you get more energy, you know what to focus on, and with that, you can do much more. Without it overwhelming you, you actually get even more energized and more excited about it, but it will not feel like this in the beginning. So don't wait for yourself to feel like this in order to do it, because it will not happen this way. You first have to take the actions, and then the things will change. At the same time, of course, doing the decluttering work and the forgiveness work and creating new stories for yourself. But if you only stay in this and you don't take real world actions, nothing will change. Don't wait and sit there and meditate and then like money will show up. It won't work. You have to do the work. And so the work, the action steps, what can we do to generate more money, and not just like one time, but actually to change our money mindset? One of the things you can do is actually to see, okay, how can I create a better job for myself? Or how can I go and get a better job for myself? Because you always can. It's not always about like finding that job that you will do for the rest of your life. It's about doing something that you feel and like better than what you have currently. Because like I've been telling you this has been going on so often in my surroundings and my clients' lives, where they say, well, I found this job, it actually gives me $30,000 more a year, but then I would have to do things that I actually don't want to do. Like I have to take notes in meetings, and I'm like, okay, so are you not willing to make notes in the meeting when you're getting $30,000 more a year? Is it really gonna come down to this? Is this the only thing that bothers you? And a lot of times it is. Or I've had situations with family members when they said, I don't want to change my job because I want to be my own boss. But the truth is, then they stay in this position where they're not getting where they want to go, where they're not able to change their money mindset. They stay there for way too long and nothing changes. But if you go for the new job, you know what's going to happen? It's not so much only about having more money, because at that moment, once you get more money, it really changes you. It really gets you to a point where you're accustomed to having more money, living a life on that level, and then expecting even more from your life. That's the first thing. So I want you to go there, not thinking that this is the final solution, but the question of, is this better than your current job? And if it is, then dare to do it. And it will always be scary. There's never a point where you'll make those jumps and it will not be scary. But once you do that, you overcome it. And then you get used to this money mindset, which opens up your mind to completely new possibilities. I can guarantee you I would not be able to work for myself if I didn't make the jump to the higher income before that, where I was doing things that are actually not that in alignment with what I wanted to do. But the money that was there was the one thing that actually helped me to understand, okay, a life on this level is actually possible, and I do start feeling like this is my new normal. You really have to change the way you think about having this money, because most of the time it really is really keeping you from accepting that this is your normal. Other people, they have and feel like that the things that you're getting right now, the money that you're making, the lifestyle that you're living is amazing. And other people think, I would never live like this. And this is with every income level. There are like people who feel like this when they're making $500,000 a year. There are people like this who make $5 million a year. And there are people who think like this who make $50,000 a year. It really doesn't matter. But you gotta make those shifts. You gotta find ways to create more income so you get used to it. And the other thing that is really amazing at that point is that you actually surround yourself with new people who make the same kind of money. They make the same kind of money you want to get accustomed to. So when you, let's say, in a new job and people in general make more money there, then you really change your mindset around money even easier. We really are the sum of the 5 peoples we surround ourselves most with. So it really isn't that way that you say, oh, okay, but nobody in my life makes money, so what am I gonna do? Well, start with online mentors, get a coach, watch videos like this, get courses, whatever it is that is your like comfort level where you can push yourself a little bit. So you say, I don't want to spend $300 on a course. Well, can you afford not to? Like really take a chance and see if that really changes something about you, because that way you actually get to be closer with people who have a different mindset. And so while you change that job, you're not just getting used to the new money, you're also getting used to people being around you who do make more money. Both of those things will actually help you to have a new vision, which will help you to determine what is the next step. It is never about finding that one thing that'll be perfectly you, because it's not there. You have to figure it out. You won't just wake up one morning and see, oh, this is the perfect job where I can do everything I want to do and it brings me so much money, because most of the time we don't even know what that is. So you gotta make those jumps in order to become more aware and then take the next step. Like I talk about very often, like you're climbing a mountain, and the higher the mountain is, the better the view is, and the more you can decide, okay, that's the next mountain I want to go to. So one of the ways I just mean go for the better job. Change your jobs, because every time you change your job, you can actually expect more. You can be a new person at that new job. And through that jump that is scary, you allow yourself to make even more money. If you're not ready to go that step yet, you can either, find a way where you can take on more responsibility within your job and prove what you can bring to the company even more in order to improve the way others are actually seeing you. But that is really limited. Take that chance, but really making jumps when it comes to being in jobs is really changing jobs. And I know sometimes we have to wait 2 years, but then you can at least have an increase of 20% every time you go to a new job. The other thing is what you can do is to start a side hustle. And those things are really the things that should be something that we actually love to do. Something that really makes you spark, that makes you feel excited about life. That is when we have the chance to start doing something new. But to know that it will not bring you that much money in the first months. It takes time, it takes consistency, but you get to create something. And it's scary because you have to, be more visible. People will see you, they might judge you. Now looking back at the intuitive part and the actions, forgiveness, how much it helped me to be okay with being visible and becoming even more visible every single time. Because if you look back at my videos, every year there's a different kind of level to how much I actually show up. None of this would have happened if I wasn't able to forgive a lot of people that caused me to kind of hide. So really take that on. So once you start doing your side hustle, you can actually think about what is it I want to do, and then start making little shifts that will help you to be consistent. I don't want you to have, start a new YouTube channel and then have a video out every other day, because for now you haven't been able to do this consistently yet. Same thing, if you write a book and you haven't been able to write a page every day, don't have as your next goal, oh, I'm gonna write 2 pages every day. But once you do this, really say, okay, I'm gonna start writing 1 paragraph a day, because this is something I know I can be consistent with. And once you're able to do this for a week or 2, then you can add to it. But once you start doing this, make it easier on yourself and directly put an income related topic to it. So when you create a book, maybe you create an ebook that you can then sell. Self-publishing to Amazon is so easy nowadays. And once you start doing this, the first time I actually made money with something I created, and that was way before that the ebook, I had some programs when I was even a student. But those were the things that actually changed my mindset, because then I thought, oh, okay, I can actually make money with something I love to do. How amazing is that? That thing actually made so much more of a difference for me than making my first $1,000 or my first $10,000 in my business, because that thing actually showed me, oh, it is possible. So really aim to become a person who makes money while doing something you love. Find a way you can monetize what you're offering. Remember, you serve, you deserve. And so with that, I really want you to also think about your support system. Once you start changing your jobs, yes, you'll be surrounded by people who make more money, but even if you don't, you have to find a way to up-level your support system in one way or another. As I said, get a coach, go to mastermind groups, do courses, watch videos like this. The more you do that, the more input you get from people who have actually achieved what you want to achieve, who are mentally at the state where you want to be. And that is much easier for intuitives actually, because we actually get to mirror that. We get to see that energy and we get to take that in. It happens naturally. So you can take this as an advantage. Taking in other people's energies, which is very often for intuitives, it's not that bad actually. It's bad if you surround yourself with people who are not helping you to create a better life for yourself. But the more you actually focus yourself on people who do bring that, who are actually a little bit further their journey than you are, the easier it will be for you to get accustomed to that kind of mindset, to that kind of inner calmness, and therefore create even the next level of your income goals. So if you want to dive deeper on this, definitely rewatch the webinar on the 5 pillars to an epic life. The link is below. And if you want to have my personal help so we can really narrow down what you want to do next, then check out my link on one-on-one coaching. And if you want to watch a video now that is related to this, watch the video on how to forgive, because that will help you in creating more money and having a better lifestyle and creating everything you want much easier. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.